The discussion for this week was the contribution of education to the respect, promotion and fulfilment of all human rights for all. Education was described by many of the speakers as a foundational right upon which the exercise of other rights depend. One speaker described it as a multiplier right, that is, a right which multiplies the enjoyment and exercise of other fundamental rights, and I think that perhaps is the more correct description. The right to education was discussed in situations of crisis, how to ensure that people get education during times of war and conflict, during times of natural disaster, and during climate crisis, which is described here as the triple planetary crisis. The presentations were many. They were from over 30 speakers from over 20 countries, representing all geographical areas. From my point of view, I was interested to hear any discussion there would be of the right to life, education of people at school for the right to life. The right to life was mentioned by one person only, and in the context of education, furthering and fostering it. However, when she developed her discussion, it was clear that she was talking about education in schools of children, which would enable them, or through them their families, to save lives or to sustain lives. For instance, in time of natural disaster, children could be taught things in advance about sanitation, about distribution of foodstuffs, or in times of a pandemic, the necessary restrictions in relation to that. There was no discussion about the right to life from conception to natural death, which is something the Pro-Life campaign seeks to protect, and through all of its work and its education in schools in our country to ensure. My main takeaway from the work of the forum this week is the pursuit of harnessing education for the achievement and exercise of political rights, and in particular for the achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the Geneva ecosystem. They called for the arrangement of school curricula to enable human rights education throughout all years of education and across all subjects in the curriculum. And I think it behoves us to make sure that this human rights education, which is being pursued in all member states of the United Nations, will include consideration of the right to life, particularly as we are now living in a time when abortion is legal in Ireland. We do not wish to see it expanded anymore, made more available, given that we now have 1 in 6 pregnancies in our country ending in abortion. We have nearly 11,000 abortions last year, and we have data from the HSE for the years 2020 and 2022, which tell us horrifyingly that 10 and then 12 children survived abortions and were left to die. We don't have data for the other years, but there's no reason to believe that anything different has occurred in those years.